Hi folks, and welcome to the second mini-lecture in our series on labor conflict in hard rock mining towns in the West. In the prior lecture, we discussed a strike in the Coeur d'Alene Mountains of northern Idaho, where Pinkerton agents infiltrated the miners' union and escalated tensions between the union and mine owners, culminating in an outburst of violence and a crackdown on the union. After the union leaders got out of the bullpen, they met with other union miners from Butte and formed the Western Federation of Miners. It quickly became the strongest and most radical union in the American West. Before 1890, the area that became Cripple Creek, Colorado, was a dusty cattle ranch without much of a draw for anything that could not digest grass. However, a low-grade gold ore was discovered in 1890, and a mining camp sprung up, with 6 new towns and thousands of miners arriving over the next few years. Dozens of mines started producing gold, and with government manipulation that drove the silver price down, and the onset of the Panic of 1893, the district swelled with miners looking for gold. And the Western Federation of Miners began organizing the district and suited a strong union among the miners in the many mines. In 1894, the mine owners attempted to lengthen the workday and reduce wages, and the miners went out on strike. The local sheriff assembled an armed force of 1,200 men, and the miners armed themselves as well, fortifying the high ground on Bull Hill. Finally, the pro-union governor declared that the sheriff's armed posse was illegal and sided with the Unionists. The strike came to an end as the mine owners agreed to a $3 wage and an 8-hour workday. The district remained calm for 9 years, but the mine owners took the opportunity to consolidate their control over the industry using vertical and horizontal integration. They owned the mines, mills, smelters, railroads, and banks, everything needed to control the gold mining process. Beginning in August 1902, smelter workers in Colorado City tried to organize a Western Federation of Miners local. In the process of mining and metallurgy, smelting is the heating of an ore to melt out the valuable metals from the useless rock. It's a dangerous, dirty, hot, and difficult job. If we think of the vertical and horizontal integration of an industry, the Federation was attempting to counter these integration practices through their own vertical and horizontal union organization. The manager of the smelter fired every union member and organizer from their job at the smelter, and the rest of the workforce went out on strike. For years before, the Miners Association of Cripple Creek had relied on the Pinkertons and other private detective agencies to infiltrate their workforce on a regular basis, with spies in many mines reporting on union organization. Much of their routine infiltration was an attempt to profile the workers in each mine or mill, cataloging their union sentiments, ethnicity, financial state, and habits. In the case of the striking smeltermen, a Pinkerton agent named Crane had been working in the smelter and was a union member. And, once on strike, Crane was appointed as a prominent member of the union's strike committee. He soon blew his cover and fled the district. Pinkerton division manager James McParland used the exposure of his agent to approach the anti-union governor, who then sent the state National Guard to occupy Colorado City. As the smelter strike dragged through the winter, the business elites of the region began organizing against the union. They further organized the Mine Owners Association and organized a Citizens Alliance, as well as a chapter of the National Association of Manufacturers, all aimed at restricting union organizing in the district. Their membership included the governor and many officers in the state militia. The Mine Owners Association and National Association of Manufacturers chapter even paid the salary of the militia officers, many of whom had been mine managers before their military appointment. The Western Federation of Miners was a force among the miners in Cripple Creek, but it wasn't dominant. Most of the workers just wanted bread and butter things, better pay, an 8-hour workday, and that sort of thing. They didn't want an all-union hiring process, and again, their demands were primarily economic. However, they also knew of the rising power of the Mine Owners Association, and of the routine infiltration of Pinkertons and other detectives into their workscape. In August 1903, the Western Federation of Miners locals in Cripple Creek went on a solidarity strike to stop the shipment of ore to the smelters of Colorado City, an attempt to pressure the smelter operators to concede to the strike there. It was an attempt to break the vertical integration of the mine owners by disrupting the supply of ore, therefore empowering the striking smeltermen. A Pinkerton operative went to the striking Cripple Creek district and reported, quote, "There is no radical talk or threats of any kind that I can hear on the part of the miners, and everything is very quiet. The soldiers and miners are becoming friendly, and I have even heard expressions of sympathy from the soldiers to the miners." The union even limited liquor sales in the district to keep the striking miners calm and in control, as a means of demonstrating its peaceful intent. However, the infiltration of the unions by the Pinkertons was so extensive that Pinkerton agents in positions of union leadership were actively directing the union strike against the miners, the mines, and smelters, while being paid by the mine owners to disrupt the strike. The overall goal was conflict and to discredit and disrupt the union by instigating violence. Throughout the fall of 1903 and early winter of 1904, the union stayed on strike and remained peaceful. They offered no justification for the violent suppression of their strike, but stuff started getting weird. Railroad tracks started to be sabotaged, and the evidence started to point to mine and railroad detectives as the saboteurs. An unemployed miner initially admitted to the sabotage, but then retracted his statement and reported that he'd been offered $1,000 by the Mine Owners Association to take the blame for the rail sabotage. A second sabotage attempt was committed by several detectives who later admitted to it. In each case, the union leadership was hauled in front of a judge and charged with conspiracy, effectively jailing and sidelining the leadership during the strike. And the strike spread throughout the state, but especially to southwestern Colorado, as miners in the Telluride mines went out for higher wages and the 8-hour day, but also in a demonstration of solidarity. The governor dispatched 500 state militia troops to the district, and the militia commander asked for Pinkertons to infiltrate the miners. But he was told that there were already agents in play, deep in the local union's leadership circle. The Mine Owners Association declared that they would be reopening their mines with non-union labor, and the militia aided the mine owners in rounding up and deporting the union leadership from Telluride. Effectively, the militia, the Mine Owners Association, and the Pinkertons collaborated to break the union in Telluride. The Cripple Creek district was similarly occupied by the State National Guard and crawling with Pinkerton agents, but the union kept up its peaceful strike. By early April, the high costs of occupying the district with the state militia had compelled the governor to reduce troop numbers to a mere 25. The miners' strike was working. The mines were shut down, their profits were affected, and the few mines in the district that had reopened were employing both union and non-union workers for an 8-hour shift at prevailing wages. It was a waiting game, and the union was winning. On June 11, 1904, at about 2:15 in the morning, a bomb exploded at the Victor train depot, killing 13 non-union miners and wounding 6. There has never been a determination about who set off the bomb, but the blast provided the excuse for a violent crackdown on the Western Federation of Miners by the National Guard, the Citizens Alliance, the Mine Owners Association, and the Pinkertons. The commander of the militia in the district, General Reardon, welcomed the blast, telling Pinkerton operative J.N. Londoner, quote, "It was a damn good thing to get a little advertising with. We've been too damn quiet in the district, and now my hometown's going to furnish a little music for the boys." Londoner, the Pinkerton, recalled, quote, "As soon as I showed my face at the armory, I was made a deputy sheriff and told to kill any union man or sympathizer that said a word to me. All the mine owners, managers, and superintendents are commissioned as deputy sheriffs." The local government of the Cripple Creek district was deposed at gunpoint, with the sheriff being forced to resign his position with a noose around his neck. The sheriff had been interrupted in his investigation of the Independence Depot explosion, hauled in front of a panel of the Citizens Alliance, and threatened with extrajudicial execution if he did not resign, effectively halting his investigation and any attempt to keep the peace in the district. Militiamen and Pinkertons surrounded the Union Hall and began firing on the building. After about 20 minutes of gunfire, the Union members in the hall surrendered, and Union miners and their sympathizers were rounded up in the stockyard in the center of the town, referred to as the bullpen. Hundreds of Union miners and their sympathizers, whether family members or friendly merchants, were herded onto cattle cars, driven on trains into the middle of Nebraska, and released on the side of the railroad tracks in the middle of nowhere with a warning not to return. The Mine Owners Association had tried to break the Union in Cripple Creek. Members of the Western Federation of Miners realized the stakes of the competition and the power of the mining industry in the state. After the crackdown in Cripple Creek, the Western Federation of Miners was pivotal in establishing the radical union, the Industrial Workers of the World, providing much of the funding for the new union and much of its membership. Effectively, the repression of the mining industry and the militia may have disrupted the Union temporarily in Cripple Creek, but it pushed the miners towards even more radical position, and the expansion of radical Union ideology throughout the United States through the Industrial Workers of the World.